This conference will now be recorded.
Good evening. Let's call the July 8th City Council meeting to order at 6:30. We have a quorum. Everyone is here. Stand for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, just a couple of additions for you. Number 2, under requests and presentations, Kay Schember wishes to address the council. Then number 4, under new business and library repairs. That's what I have.
Anyone have anything else they want to add? Okay.
The motion to approve the agenda with additions.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion is approved. Consent agenda items. Approved minutes from last month's meeting.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Pass. Public comments? None? Requests and presentation? You're up. The audit presentation?
Yeah. Thanks everyone for having me and I accommodated. I was supposed to be here a couple weeks ago, but they'll move me this month, so that's good. So yeah, again, appreciate the flexibility. So my name's Wayne with Abdo. I will go through the audit presentation. So similar to years past, we're going to keep it as a high level. We're going to go through our audit opinion, what our responsibilities as auditors are versus what your responsibility as council is. We'll go through main operating fund, your general fund, your other governmental funds, your enterprise funds, and then compare you to some of those things in your area of growth state. So any questions for me before we get started? All right. So first thing that we're going to go through what is our responsibility as auditors are versus what your responsibility as council is. And so that is financial statement audit, which the objective of which is to provide an opinion on the financial statements that they're free from material misstatements. So really what that means, we as auditors, we come in, we look at the numbers, we make sure that they're free from significant error. A lot of people hear that the auditors are coming in, they're looking for fraud, they're looking for wrongdoing. That's not the case in financial statement audit. We're really looking at the numbers. If we come across anything, we have to report it accordingly, both at either the state or the federal level for various compliance. So we don't have any instances of non-compliance at the state level. We did not expend more than $750,000 in federal dollars. We were on a single audit in that threshold this year. And with that, we provided a qualified opinion or generally accepted accounting principles. So really what that means is that we've opted not to implement fire relief actuarial standards, which is the same as years past. From a cost benefit standpoint, we've been willing to accept that risk. So you have that qualified opinion, again, similar to what you've had in years past. So with that, ultimately, the financial statements themselves do fall back on the city council through acceptance of the audit report. Okay. We do have 5 findings during the year, so they're all internal control findings. The first year are very similar to what you've had in years past, but very similar to other cities of your size. One of the segregation of duties, preparation of financial statements, and material audit account adjustments. So really what that means is that we come in, we help make adjustment entries at the end of the year, we help prepare all the financial statements, review disclosures, and to assist in that realm from an independent standpoint. We're required to put that in there as an internal control finding. Limited segregation of duties, also similar to what you've had in years past. Really, again, from a cost benefit standpoint, the city's willing to accept that risk to have that small office size. So it's important to know as council to look through the various reports of the monthly meetings and do your due diligence, that we bring things that stand out, they seem odd, and just continue to have that another look, eyes on the various reports. The other couple of ones at the end, also findings from last year, from 2022, internal control finding related to sales tax remittances and timely bank reconciliations. There were 2 other findings that were remedied in 2023. The compensated absences, so with the contracted, the payroll, that was corrected for 2023. 2023. And then also the timing of the fire aid remittance was also correct. Okay. One thing that we have also as a recommendation is to develop internal control documentation. A lot of it again related to the findings that we had in the past slides. The more developed policies, procedures that you can have, the more consistency that you'll have with the turnover. And what Tony's been recommending was updated. But the more structure that you can have makes it life easier as you turnover in the administrator position, clerk position, whatever it might be, will help those processes and procedures. Any questions on that before we move on to the numbers or anything, Tony, that you want to add?
I don't think so.
If there are questions, again, feel free to interject at any time. Otherwise, we'll hold a little bit of time. Okay. So the first thing we're going to look at here is your general fund. So this is going to be your main operating fund. And what we're going to do is compare your unassigned fund balance, or dollars that are available for spending at the city's discretion, compare that to the budget expenditures in the general fund. So really what we're going to be focusing on these next few slides are the orange. And so in this instance, what you really want to see is your orange fluctuating with your yellows. Really what that's going to indicate is that your unassigned fund balance is fluctuating the same as where your budgeted expenditures are. So it's a good measure of liquidity of how much you have in reserves in your general fund. We would recommend anywhere from 35 to 50%. Your fund balance policy in the black there, you can see it's 50%. So on the top end of that. And you had a decent jump in 2023 from about 37% to a little over 53% during the year. So if you go to the next slide, Tony, we'll drill down a little bit more on that. So at the beginning of the year, when the budget was done, you can see that you had a budget of 1.2 million of revenues and expenditures. So you get a balanced budget during the year. What we'll focus on is that actual amount in the middle. So actual revenues came in at 1.3 million and actual expenditures came in at 1.164. So you get positive variances in both the revenues and the expenditures. So revenues, your taxes end up having a positive variance of about 37,000 due to mainly due to some pilot revenue that came in. Your intergovernmental revenue also had a positive variance of about 38,000. So about 54,000 of that was related to that one-time public safety aid, kind of a one-off thing there. And then also refunds and reimbursements at about $72,000 positive variance. So kind of a combination of those three things ended up driving the revenues over than what was originally anticipated. Yeah, and you can see there just a little bit differently from a graphical standpoint. The taxes, you can see, went up from 2022 to 2023. A lot of that is related to the capital levy, which we'll talk about in a little bit, and just the way that that's structured. You can see your intergovernmental revenue did go up a little bit, mainly due to that public safety that came in. And then as we mentioned earlier, that other revenue, you see a jump there related to the refunds and reimbursements from the nursing home due to some of the state funding. Okay. Same thing with the expenditures. Again, if you look at the other revenues related refunds and reimbursements related to the nursing home, the expenditures had a similar offset related to that. You can see that there was a decrease in public safety. So a lot of that was related to staffing in the police. So it's about $55,000 positive variance. Back to the expenditures a few slides ago, we were under budget about $60,000 overall in the expenditure side of things. And a big chunk of that was related to police. Ambulance also had a positive variance as well, not being able to be fully staffed on that. So those are kind of the two drivers of your expenditures being your budget.
What are some of the categories that are in other?
That would be, so we have general government, public safety, streets and highways, soul, culture, and rec. So anything related to like parks or, if you have a library, a pool, would be a big thing other than that. Another thing that gets captured on other is related to the contingencies and the miscellaneous costs related to the nursing home. So that's going to be the big one in that other, is going to be the nursing home related expenses. So again, and think back to that revenue being over too, it's kind of an in and out on the expenditures being up from 2022 to 2023, and then also these reimbursements that came from the state. But yes, that's the question. Any other questions on the general fund? Okay, so we're gonna switch gears a little bit. So special revenue funds are gonna be your next fund. So we have 3 special revenue funds that are dedicated to specific purpose. You have your TIF districts, your rural fires, and your ARPA dollars. So you can see that there was a increase in fund balance in the TIF district number 1. So there is still about a $350,000 deficit in that fund, but you did collect about $45,000 in tax increment during the year. So it is starting to be reduced as that TIF district does generate tax increment. Your other funds are your rural fire fund. So you have about $50,000 in township charges going into the rural fire fund. You see it did increase about $35,000 during the year. The ARPA fund doesn't have any fund balance technically, just the way that the accounting works, but there was $114,000 in ARPA dollars at the end of 2023. And a reminder that those need to be spent in 2024 in accordance with the federal standards around that. Okay. And then you have 2 capital project funds. One's pretty minor, the Oddfellows building, you have less than $1,000 in fund balance. There wasn't any activity during the year in that fund. And then you have your capital improvement fund as well. So as we mentioned earlier, with some of the taxes and where they're being levied for what specific purpose, there's about $120,000 in levy dollars coming into the capital improvement fund for various initiatives that the city does set aside. So this year, there's the fencing project, scoreboard project at the ballpark. There's some road work, and then also various equipment purchases in the squad. I think some park equipment. And I don't know if anything else, Tony, that you want to point out during the year. Lawnmower. So there was a little bit of a spend down in that capital improvement fund of about $48,000, but you do still have about $650,000 in that fund for the various initiatives, again, that the city plans to take on. So the more that you can lay that out and look at your capital needs on where they're at over the next few years, that's going to allow you for levy stabilization and figuring out where that fund wants to be, where the reserves are at in that capital improvement fund. So mainly levy. There was a big chunk of donations that came in during the year again for that ballpark project. There's also an increase in capital improvement fees. So again, about $350,000 in costs and about $300,000 in total. And the last of your governmental funds is going to be your debt service funds. So you have 3 bonds currently outstanding that are being paid back by taxes and assessments. So you have about $244,000 in cash in your debt service funds compared to about $180,000 in annual debt service. And then you have about another $100,000 in assessments to be collected to pay those bonds off. So you do see that you do have some debt dropping off in 2024, from 2007 and 2012 mature. And then you also have the 2009 and 2010 maturing in 2026. So again, as that drops off, you can take on additional debt and use those cash flows to pay back those bonds if you so choose. And again, that's not going to impact the levy if you structure it the way that the payments are being made right now. So again, it gives you a little bit more flexibility with where some of the taxes are at and how it's structured with your various bond payments. Any questions on that before we go to the enterprise fund? Okay. So the last few funds here we have are your enterprise funds. So they're going to operate a little bit differently than your governmental funds. So they're going to be generating your cash flow based off of base fees and charges for services. So really what we want to look at is the top graph. We want the orange, which is your cash receipts in the fund, to exceed the yellow and the black. So yellow is going to be your operating costs, your personnel, your supplies, your benefits, and then your black is going to be your debt service payments related to that. So really what we want to see is that left graph exceed the right graph, or the bar on the top. So you can see from 2020 to 2022, it was more or less a break-even year, with the exception of 2021. That's not the case in 2023 anymore. So you did have a couple bonds mature that the water fund was paying off, the 2023 PFA, and also the 2012 A, I believe the maturity date was February 1st of 2024. So what you can see there is the impact on the cash balances in that bottom graph then. So as that debt has dropped off, that has allowed the water fund to build cash balances in the fund that can be used for future capital. So our recommendation for cash balances in the enterprise funds, or all these enterprise funds, is to be the following year debt service, so the following year black in that top graph, plus 35% of the operating costs in the yellow. So in 2023, that ended up being about $60,000 with the way that the debt dropping off is at. So one way to look at it as well on that bottom graph is anything in the orange that's below that black blip can be used for reoperating. Anything above that can be used for future capital. So again, it allows you rate stabilization, the more that you can lay those out, lay those capital needs out, you can kind of structure your rates accordingly based off of that. Okay. Same thing with the sewer fund. So the sewer fund operates a little bit opposite of the water fund. So you can see that the yellow and the black on that top graph continuously exceed the operating receipts. And consequently, you can see what the impact is on cash balances in that bottom graph. So in 2020, you're pretty much right in line with where our recommendation is at, about that 184,000. As those costs have exceeded your receipts, you can see that cash has decreased about $100,000 a year in the sewer fund year over year. So 2020 or 2023, you can see increase quite a bit. As your infrastructure ages, the cost to maintain that continues to increase. Obviously, there's inflationary pressures in there as well, but the sewer fund is going to need a little bit of work as you move forward. So I know that Tony and I have had conversations around that. The water fund could help subsidize it as that debt has dropped off. So there are some options available. There's some things to consider as you go through the budget process. Okay. Cedar Point has operated pretty consistently year over year. You can see it as about a break even. Costs have continued to go up in that fund as well. Again, a lot of it is going to be inflationary in nature. About $70,000 in cash compared to about $23,000 and where we would recommend as balances. So more than where we have from our recommendation standpoint. And then we also have the nursing home fund, which is audited by other firms. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time here. Same concept will apply. You want to see your orange exceed the yellow. You can see that in 2023, the nursing home did receive a significant amount in tax credits. So there's about $1.4 million in unearned revenue. I'm not overly familiar with that program. So it's the way that the revenue is earned and how it's recognized is a little bit beyond my expertise. But that's why the reason is for the big jump in the cash balances in 2020. So if you combine everything that we talked about, you can see that overall, your cash balances have remained pretty steady around that $2.5, $2.6 million over the past 3 years. Now, again, that big jump up in 2023 is going to be mainly related to that $1.4 million that came into the nursing home. So excluding that, again, pretty consistent year over year throughout all the operations in the city. And the last thing we have to go through are your key performance indicators. So again, we want to focus on the orange. We're going to compare you to other cities in your area, which is going to be yellow, other cities in the Secret County, and then other cities your size throughout the state. So that's going to be the black, all the cities in the state under $2,500 in population. So one thing I do like to point out too is, to look at trends on where things are going versus where they've been at. Unfortunately, we don't have all the data from the state for 2022. They haven't released it yet, so we don't have access to that. So we're a couple of years behind until they are going to release that. But overall, you can see that your tax rate and your taxes per capita are pretty much right in line with other cities in your area and other cities throughout the state. So nothing a whole lot out of line there. You're trending in the same direction as well as both the tax rate and the taxes per capita. The depth we've already talked about quite a bit, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time or any time on this one. Then if you go to the next slide there, 22, same thing with your current expenditures and your capital expenditures. So overall, again, your current expenditures, your operating costs are more or less right in line with where your peers are at, both in the area and throughout the state. Your capital expenditures are going to vary quite a bit depending on the needs. So again, the more that you can lay those out and structure those out is going to help you with that rate stabilization and with levy spikes. And with that is all I had to go through for our presentation. Any questions from council or Tony, anything that you want to add?
I don't have anything. Does anybody have anything for Lane?
Oh, I know.
Thank you, Lane. It's much better than I can explain it, so.
Good job, thank you.
Yes, thanks.
Checks are bounced.
And if you do have any questions, my contact information is on that slide, so feel free to reach out. I'd be happy to answer if anything comes up.
Oh, I do notice one. On that last expenditures, there's two charts. They both have the same heading on the back. Current, oh, I don't.
Capital and current.
So left is gonna be your operating, so those are gonna be pretty consistent year over year. The right's gonna be the ones that are, street projects, the big time needs. So again, you're kind of right in line. Other cities throughout the state are a little bit higher, but again, that's gonna come down to an as needed basis.
I thought they both said current.
All right. Thanks, Lane. Better
Thanks,
get,
everyone.
better get off to your next stop.
I told them 7:30, I'm ahead.
Thanks, Lane.
Okay, can we have a motion to accept the report?
We did the main report last month, so we're good.
Okay, thank you. Next.
Kay Schember.
Hi, my name is Kay Schember Katie. I'm Kirk and Carol Schember's daughter, and they lived at the east end of St. Olaf Lake. Many, many wonderful memories. And of course, my dad grew up here in town. I'm here to ask if we can put up a memorial bench and 2 red maple trees in the park. My best place that I would like to put that would be facing the lake halfway between the concession stand and the right up, the boat landing there. Because they spent many hours looking at the lake and caring about the lake. So if it's a possibility, I need to know what other information you need. And our families would like to do that if that is possible.
You still plan on doing it this year, if you could?
If we could, yes, we would like to do it this year. We're thinking red maples and a bench looking out on the lake like they.
We had another family do one, didn't we?
Yeah,
Who was for Carrie Rasmussen?
I don't remember who it was. No.
Okay.
My only request is if the council would allow that, they would direct her to work with Eric to find the appropriate location for the trees and benches and get that approved with him.
So I could get the name from you.
Yep.
And truthfully, Cameron is my son. He lives where my mom and dad used to live. And I live in Arizona, but I always got to come home to the lake.
Sure.
So,
Paulson's sister, right?
yes, I'm happy. Yeah. Mhm, yeah. So, yeah, it's her family and my family that are.
And I'm sure between me and my wife will be, around to water, make sure they get.
Yeah.
That's why.
Okay.
I'm Happy's daughter.
Yes, this is Kim, sorry. Kim, Paulson Lindring, Larry, and Cameron. And, yeah. Okay, so, I get the director's name because I want to.
So if we make the motion, let's include Eric's name.
Yeah,
Or
yeah, yep, I gave her the information, but,
Okay.
but if
We need a
you,
motion, right?
yep, I do,
Yeah.
We need a
please.
motion.
Yep.
So I'll make a motion for Kay to contact Eric and work on where the position of the bench and trees would be out at Sonoma Park.
You might want to put Cameron's name on there because
And
I will
Cameron.
be reaching to Eric.
I would just make it Kay's family.
Kay's
Yeah,
family. How about Kay's family
yeah.
to organize a bench and trees for the
Yeah.
Sonoma Park?
Okay, all right.
We have a second?
I'll second that.
Any more discussion? Questions?
No.
All in
What color,
favor?
what color's the bench gonna be? Red like a red maple?
Wow,
We haven't decided, we've looked at quite a few.
we've looked at, we've looked at metal, we've looked at concrete, we've looked at, wood. I kind of am going away from the wood a little bit because it seems like it weathers,
Yeah.
doesn't
Yeah.
weather as nicely.
Yeah.
Can I ask?
Work with Eric, he might have some options, and he might actually have some books at the office that
Oh,
might have some
perfect. That
stuff
would be very helpful.
for you
yeah.
guys too, so.
I was just gonna say, if we had like a drawing of what it would look like at the end. before
Right, yes,
everything's
oh,
done.
yes, I was, truthfully, I was on my way to Owatonna and I got thinking about this and I was thinking your council meeting was on Wednesday night. And but yeah, I did do a pencil drawing of it, but yeah, I will include that.
I'm presuming that you probably have something on the bench with words.
Yes, a
Really?
memorial for my curtain Carol Schember.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So
that would be it, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I would assume that Eric will bring it to one of the meetings once kind of finalize a few
Okay.
designs
Alright,
too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or Cameron or Kim.
And you guys can
Yeah,
certainly
yeah,
come too,
yeah.
yes, absolutely.
Okay,
But if
Alright.
not able to, Eric could
Yeah.
present it too.
okay, thank you. And I will give him a call. Thank you so
Yes.
much. I appreciate you fitting me in.
Okay.
Yep, thank you.
You know, there are a couple, or at least one memorial benches in the park down here right now. If you want to take a look at those.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, perfect. Okay, good.
Did
So you have a
say that
motion in a
there is
second.
one already
Yeah.
out at?
There is one out there, yep, and there is one in the city park, I believe, so maybe take a look.
Levi's is it?
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
You have a
No, we
motion
got a
and a
motion.
second, no vote.
We discussed.
You have a motion and a second, and you've done discussion, but no vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? None. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Public hearing, no ordinances and resolutions, department report, ambulance.
Just in writing. The ambulance went in for service. They did have some bad U joints, so they were all replaced. It was easier to replace all of them at the same time than it was just to try to replace one, so they just went ahead and replaced them all. There was an executive committee meeting. I unfortunately wasn't able to attend. Janda was there. There's more information coming at a later time. New Lucas is in. That's the report.
Okay, we have a motion? I move to accept the ambulance report.
A second.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion is passed. Next is the fire department.
In writing, 1 fire, 1 medical, 2 calls, search and rescue training.
What do they do with the search and rescue?
So in the, well, cafeteria area, you put on your gear, go in there with your face mask covered blindly, and it's to teach you how to feel around corners, obviously with the gloves on and everything else, but call out, simulate dragging a hose and an axe and breathing on air. This time was a little trickier because some of the guys decided to move the tables, which represent walls. So just when you think you ran into something, you turn around, all of a sudden, I don't remember that wall being there. So it kind of made you start thinking, trying to get out of that stress point of, man, I thought I knew where I was. So it kind of putting you into a stressful moment there too, to reevaluate what you were doing, so.
Do they
And
have,
the whole goal in the end is eventually someone saying, help, help, and then you're trying to feel around walls and not go by. Don't skip something you should be searching, but
I was just gonna ask if they had people.
try to get to that voice and.
Thank you.
Okay. We have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion is passed. Next, police department.
We had 161 calls for service for the month of June, putting our total for the year at 1,368. Our annual radar certifications was done at the beginning of the month. The one we didn't need certified because it was brand new, but I had them double check that I hooked it up right and everything was working perfectly. The computer and mounter installed, and working great. One thing to note, not last week, the week before, the steering on the 270 squad, so the black squad, the old one, started to get all wonky, so I took it in, and it was there until late last week. They finally called and said something with the steering column's going out, so they needed to order a part. I waited until today, to order it, just in case, so kind of backtracking, the part is gonna be $650. It's a needed part. We haven't been out of, that squad has still been sitting at the shop since I dropped it off a week and a half ago. So,
Do we require to have an authorization, or when it's necessary for something for, can we just say that she goes ahead and orders things?
We had a staff meeting this morning and I talked to Chief Berger and I said that in a situation like that, I'd prefer that she just orders the part and then tells the council that that's something, it's an emergency vehicle. Let's go ahead and just get the part ordered. And so we've agreed that that's how we proceed in the future.
I just wanted to make it clear so that.
I just didn't want to overstep and.
And she's right. She was following policy and that's fine. I told her I would prefer in the future that if it's an emergency vehicle, let's get that part ordered and get it fixed and then we'll deal with it on our,
So our secondary squad for Farm and City Days was the city maintenance gator, which worked swimmingly.
You can maneuver in smaller areas.
It was great. We liked it. That was fun. And then Night to Unite tentatively is August 6th in City Park from 6 to 7:30. The backup date would be, that's July.
When is August 6th?
It's a Tuesday.
Tuesday.
The first Tuesday of August.
When's the next?
The tentative one would be the 20th. I had to.
Oh, 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks later.
Okay.
So if it gets rained out or something like that, it'll be the 20th. So.
Did we have any problems during Farm City?
Mm-mm.
Pretty quiet.
Just the way it's supposed to go. So, that's all I have.
Last time we talked about this a little bit, length of grass and lawns and weeds around town, how we doing with that?
I haven't heard anything from Eric and Braden, and I haven't seen anything crazy myself either. So.
It's just it's gonna get hot now,
Yeah,
so they'll grow like weeds.
yeah.
The weeds will grow.
The weeds will grow. The grass
So-
probably, yeah.
No, grass probably won't.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
Thank you. We have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor? Motion passes. Unfinished business, report on swimming lessons.
So we kind of basically got the okay to go ahead and use the lake again. So just to kind of let you guys know that starting next Monday, swimming, the second group of swimming lessons will start at the lake. And then we will also have the third session. And we're still trying to figure out how we can squeeze that first session back into the second or third session, but trying to do so without causing the lifeguards to work too many hours is not working into stuff. So
Didn't that thing down in Geneva work out?
it did not. They did not want to fire up their pool and get the chemicals all right. And it kind of sounded like maybe the person who was doing it was kind of ready to retire and didn't really want to deal with the situation. So, so maybe when it comes closer to the budget time here, I might reach out to them and see if it's something maybe we want to try to go forward with, at planning ahead, in case that problem happens. But no, so we're back out at the lake, and they'll start on Monday. So.
Do the lifeguards have a limited number of participants they can work with for safety reasons?
Yeah, but there's a certain amount that they can handle, and then we kind of have to have a third lifeguard kind of watching in the area too. So. Yeah, and we've kind of have a limited amount of staff, so.
Okay.
So that's that.
Need approval on that?
Nope.
Okay. Utility rate study?
So I So as part of the, obviously with the sewer information, I know that we had talked that we were gonna readjust rates, because I knew that when we adjusted the water rates, we were gonna be able to stabilize the water fund, and as you saw with the presentation, we did a pretty good job doing that. But now we need to get back to the sewer fund, and obviously we knew that was gonna be a challenge with all the stuff that we've had to tackle at the wastewater treatment plant with all the aging infrastructure that we've had to fix out there and just kind of keep going. So I did reach out to Abdo to see if we could get a utility rate study quote, and I still have not heard back from them. And so I'll talk to Lane again tomorrow and find out why that's not back. But as I was thinking about that, I was referring back to a few things that I had gone through in my notes. And I remember talking to somebody at the MCMA conference that I was just at, and the Minnesota Valley Council of Governments likes to do stuff for free. And I reached out to Victoria there, and Victoria said that they would be happy to help us with the utility rate study. So I am kind of working with them to try to put together the basics of that, to try to have something put together for budget time on a utility rate study.
Well, in a nutshell, what would they be, not they be doing, but a utility rate study look at?
So,
There's a lot.
so what they would look at is they would look at a 3 to 5 year period of what it would cost us to run our system based on what we owe for bonds, what our payments are, what technically costs would be associated with that, what we're bringing in for income, historical data, and then also it would look at what our future costs are going to be, what our debt service is, where our funds are at, and figure out what our rates need to be structured to make up that difference. So it would basically tell us that for this year you need to set the rates here, but this year you set them here, this year you need to set them here.
Now, would they do the same thing with the water fund so that we don't do this?
Yeah, well, so what I'm thinking we need to do for sure is that actually we probably can do it before the end of the year. We probably can do it at the next meeting. Is we probably can lower our water rates and increase our sewer rates for a net zero increase to our customers to fund that sewer fund a little bit more.
Until we get more
Right,
definitive
definitive
numbers.
information. So
that rate study will help us determine how we're doing it.
right, but like right now, we could basically lowering the sewer. We could lower our water charges, call it $1 a month to our customers, and increase our sewer $1 a month to our customers, and they wouldn't see a difference. It would just be, we just use the base rate, So, but that's just information for you, because I know that previous to my tenure here in this position, you guys had asked Abdo to do a utility rate study, and I want to say it was a couple $1,000.
How long ago was that?
You guys didn't go through with it. You had asked for a quote for it, and I want to say it was a couple $1,000. So
it's been several years before rate studies ever.
I don't think there's been
Or
one
is
done.
there one?
I don't think one's been
never?
done. Yeah.
I don't think so.
So I just wanted to let you know that I'm working on that, and so that's going to be. But in the meantime, I think for the next meeting, I'm probably going to try to figure out how to swap those two things to try to beef up our sewer enterprise fund just a little bit.
I'm kind of surprised that we almost got 8 miles of city sewage pipe,
Yeah.
39,000 feet.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then I was gonna ask on this other one, the 13,000 they're gonna charge, well, it goes down a little bit. But what was Shell doing? Wasn't she having some of is that water or the mains being camera?
That's this.
Okay,
So that was last year.
okay. They haven't done anything this year?
No.
Okay,
This is part of that 5-year agreement that we had signed initially. So this is this is getting back into our 5-year cleaning
okay,
agreement,
all right.
which is a requirement for our insurance for the League of Minnesota Cities.
Okay.
Why does the footage go down each year?
It's based on the pipes. It's based on what section of town they're doing. It's a linear foot.
Street could be shorter than.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So this is just basically, and Shell looked this over, and she's happy with the part of town that they're doing.
Okay.
She's directing them to do the sections that she wants to do based on problem areas that she sees in town to try to direct stuff. So,
Okay.
I believe that we've already approved this, but I wanted secondary approval just to tell them to do it. Yeah, and then this what we did get a second quote on this from, this is Empire, right? From Superior, and their quote was like 21,000 for the same section of pipe. So,
Well, it's worth to do this.
yeah, well, yeah. The nice thing is, and if you ever want to look, I mean, if you really want to get excited and want to look at some of the video, but the report is pretty cool. They actually show you the pictures and what's broken and I mean, it's to the foot, and it's pretty substantial.
What's nice is having this information, because then us planning for future
Street
projects,
replacement.
or if we can line the pipes to give us more time instead of having to rip up a whole road.
Mm-hmm.
This gives us a lot of information.
Or if we have a water main break here and we know that this pipe is bad here, instead of just replacing this 8 feet of pipe, we know if we go 25 feet, we can fix that spot too.
Okay.
You know, it gives us a good idea of what we need to do.
Perfect. Identify problems areas, start to overlap on that map.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So,
Okay, would you like to make a motion? Thank you, Tony.
I'll make a motion to approve
Approve?
our
The
5-year plan.
Well,
Secondary.
yeah.
He's
we wanted
wanting a
to do it again.
secondary approval.
We want to do it again. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any more questions for Tony? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion is passed. Okay, down to new business.
I would like to send Heather to the League of Minnesota Clerks Academy in St. Paul on the 5th through the 6th. $250 plus $348.31 in hotel for a total of about $600. That is included in our training budget. Just a real basic overview of the clerk position. It just will give her a lot more knowledge than what she's currently got, and just it's a really good program.
Did they get per diem? Is there meals served there? Or?
They cover, the hotel covers breakfast, and then the Clerks Academy covers their lunch there, and then she'll have the city credit card for her meals for per diem.
Okay. We have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to accept that.
I'll second it.
A motion and a second to approve training for Heather. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Garbage collection.
All right, so I've been starting to put together the information on going to a single collection. I've notified both companies that we are going to single collection. Neither of them were surprised, and nobody really threw anything, was really cared, I guess, really for the most part. So this is the old agreement, just kind of so you guys could see it. And then this is kind of the RFP that I started putting together. Basically, it says recycling and garbage by 5 p.m. the same day, no later than currently Monday. Basically says the exact same thing as the previous thing. It adds garbage and recycling onto the same contract. And then basically at the bottom of the contract, contractor name, the city shall pay blank for ton disposal for community cleanup day, blank for residents for garbage refuse, increase. So basically, who's ever going to bid this, and it's going to be Waste Management and Thompson's, and then we have to let anybody else bid it that wants to. But basically, they will put in there basically what they're willing to charge the city, and we'll decide to open that up and choose who we want to award the bid to at that time.
There'll be room for negotiations, right?
I mean, it's a bid, so I mean, but we don't have to accept the bids. I mean, we could, I mean, it's, you know, ultimately it is what it is. So, this is just in the beginning phases. I just kind of wanted to show you what was going on at the moment. I believe I told them the package would be to them by August 1st. And they would have to have it by November 1st. And the bid would be awarded by the second meeting in November or something like that. So that we would have it for budget time, for the final budget. So So this will continue to be on the budget. This is just kind of a high level overview.
Information.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, library repairs.
I'd like to make a comment.
Yeah.
I know a few of you are probably gonna roll your eyes, but I was extremely disappointed that this contract ever got done in and not put to the people, the residents of New Ridge, they could vote it in. And I think we should put in a sentence or a paragraph saying that if any resident wants to opt out of garbage collection, they can do it during the duration of this contract. I'd like to see that in here. Because I know there were some people that want or did not want to have the city pick up garbage for them. They wanted to continue with their garbage collection.
That's probably okay, but what do they do with their garbage and recycling?
They get somebody else. Or they take care of it themselves. I know that some people are rolling their eyes, but I think it should have been put to the residents of New Richland.
Well, I can tell you right now that I'm aware of 4 people that were crazily unhappy that this went through. And of those 4 people now are happy with the consolidated service.
It's still like that, that's all I want to say.
So,
I was against it, but I'm happy with the service.
so,
I feel like not having them opt out, it's gonna bring more problems for the police department with ordinances and cleanup. That's just
It's a
my,
different can of worms that gets sold.
Yeah.
I'm not disagreeing.
No,
I'm not disagreeing
I'm not
with
disagreeing
you.
It's
either.
some of the other troubles that
yeah.
Mhm.
But I still think it
don't want.
should have been voted.
And on the hauler side, they may not be willing to give the free Farm and City Day stuff, the free garbage collection for the city, if they know that half the people could opt out of the contract.
I just wanted to speak
So,
up.
yeah, no, that's fair.
Okay, thank you.
Uh, Yeah, so long story short, the tuck pointing issues on the library. So this is the cost to fix all of the stuff. I will just say that the 6,000 that's up on top here was previously approved last year.
okay.
So that money has already been set aside and taken care of. So that's fine.
So it's down to 13 then?
So it's 13. It is 13 to take care of it. And it does need to be approved. We do have approximately 3,000 left in capital for that project. So ultimately it's about 10,000 that wasn't really budgeted for. So,
What type
but
of guarantee?
he does a dang good job. So, I mean,
Many people that do.
there's not many people that do it. This guy does a great job, and we've never had a problem with anything he's done. So,
Does the historical preservation for the state or something come down since it's a historical building and then inspect it after it's done to make sure it meets their?
he will make sure it meets the.
Okay.
He will make sure it meets the needs of all this stuff.
Where's the-
Jerry rates.
Oh, from West State.
Yeah.
Does this help increase like commercial value of a property?
This will keep it on a historical register.
Yeah, that's important.
Is there any funding out there?
Matt and I are looking for some options for some emergency funding and stuff, but yeah. So I guess what we're looking for right now is just council approval to pay the bill.
Can you start like? soon?
He is working on it. He's
Okay.
gonna work
The
on
lift
it.
is-
Yeah,
yeah.
the lift is there. So, but this is,
Oh, yeah, I saw it.
yeah, so just to put it in perspective, this cost fixes everything that was coming down from the top, the side, and then this is also to reseal and paint all of the stuff around the front to keep that all sealed up. Basically, that should cover sealing the whole front of the whole
Is the
building.
sealer clear, not paint?
I don't know. I don't know what,
Because it's rock or brick or in the front, right?
on the window seal stuff.
Oh.
Yeah, so this should be the majority of the stuff that needs to be done on the whole outside of the building from what Matt said.
Have things been falling off or it could be a hazard at hitting somebody?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, we.
yeah.
I'll make a motion to accept Rick's masonry proposal of extra 13,000.
We have a second?
Second.
I do have a question. Where's the additional 10 that we're gonna pull it out of what funding?
We're just probably gonna pay it out of our capital reserves. Cause we have
Unless you
6,
find some more.
yeah.
Okay. Okay, any more questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay, Miscellaneous. Administrators report.
I really don't have a lot for you guys. Continue to monitor that aid package to EMS. Worked on the sewer. Verification of the sewer maintenance agreement. There's a new wastewater treatment plant grant opportunity that Shell forwarded to me, so I'm kind of looking into that. There's a webinar coming up on that this month. Completed council and ambulance payrolls, and I'm about 3/4 of the way through the USDA grant package, so we're making progress on that. And then working with Bolton and Menk on a few of the lead service stuff. Should be getting pretty close on that. And once again, no birthdays or anniversaries for this.
That's weird.
So,
Would it benefit you, Tony, if we had a grant writer? So you could.
well, I mean,
How
time.
difficult this is. Yeah, I know.
No, this USDA thing is just an in-depth.
No, I mean.
Oh, you mean for that?
Yeah.
I don't know what it's gonna all entail. If it's from the state of Minnesota, it's gonna be through their horrible SWIFT system, which is awful. So it's hard to tell what they're gonna be looking for,
Okay.
other than it's gonna be, here's the numbers, here's the check boxes, and then your narrative, and they're not gonna give you much information. So.
You said there's a webinar. Is that something that is recorded?
I think it's a live webinar.
If you get information, I can always see if I can
Okay.
join you with it.
Sure.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the administrator's report?
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to adjourn?
I got one thing. Don't I got something in the mail about our water service line? Is that thing legit?
Yes.
Is it?
Yes.
We talked about that before.
Yeah. So
I got it.
the home serve is the program that we signed on with for the council. So they will send stuff in the mail, and it's basically an insurance policy for your water, sewer, and indoor plumbing. Water, sewer, and indoor plumbing.
The one I got, I think is just water.
Yeah, they have different programs.
Okay.
So, and you can tell, like, it's the place we partner with is called Home Serve, but I think they are using Excel for this area. But if you go to Home Serve on the internet and type in 56072 as your area code, it'll send you to the right place, and it'll give you the rates. And basically, it's an insurance policy for, I want to say it's between $5 and $8 a month, or for up. I think they'll cover up to like $8,000 per occurrence for a water main break or a sewer line break, to fix stuff for your home, on the customer side of stuff. So yes, it is a legitimate thing.
And that's from the curb box to the house.
From the
correct?
curb box to the house. Yeah. So, and if anybody knows what kind of expense that is, that's a pretty good deal.
Good deal.
Mhm.
So, but if anybody does have that and they are concerned if it is a legit thing, they can stop up here and show me the information, and I'll tell them if it is or not.
Okay.
So.
Public comment is over.
I know, but with this XL for the electrical aspects also has that.
Yeah.
They sent out information on that you can get a policy in case the wires are ripped from your house, whatever, that they will help insure that aspect, to offset that cost, that doesn't cost for the homeowners to put that electrical power back on the house.
Good to know.
Thank you. Okay, motion to adjourn?
I had one quick item.
Okay.
Jumping the gun, sorry. As part of the small New Richland Farm City Days committee, just wanted to say a special thank you for obviously all the sponsors that keep the weekend going, but special thanks Delane Nelson for quickly getting the lights on, or switched over. It was awesome to see Friday night. They all turned on. They all were the same color. That was pretty awesome. Braden for calling it. I had to call on Braden for a quick issue. He was right on it, solved it. Janda for coming up and helping, and NRPD for keeping things quiet. So, thank you everyone that came out had a good time or volunteered their time to make the weekend possible.
Yep, thank you all.
I'm done.
Anybody else? Okay, motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I-
Meeting is adjourned at 7:25.